Yo, you have to see this anime-style drawing I made. I never thought I could draw like this, but I learned using this awesome course called the Anime Express Method. And trust me, it actually works. Now, here's the best part. They're running a limited time pre-holiday deal, and the course is basically free. You only pay $7 for the platform fee, and that's it. No hidden stuff. It's like they're giving it away. If you've ever dreamed of drawing anime characters, the cool eyes, the dynamic poses, the whole vibe, this is your shot. Seriously, I couldn't draw anything like this before I tried it. But heads up, this promo can end any moment, so if you're even a little interested, now's the time. Don't miss out and regret it later. Click the link, join the course, and start drawing anime today. Let's see what you can create. Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. If there's one thing Oda does better than any other author I've ever followed, it's hiding the answer right in front of us. And when I say hiding, I don't mean creating smoke and mirrors or adding mystery just to make it seem like there's more than there is. I mean hiding it with care, like one of those boxes that only opens after many years, only when the time is right. And that's exactly what I think he did with Gear 5, because we spent decades calling it the Gomu Gomu no Mi, repeating it as if it were absolute truth, when maybe that was never the name at all. And now, with the reveal in chapter 1044, where we learn that Luffy's true fruit isn't a paramecia type, but actually a mythical Zoan, model Nika, it feels like everything has been turned upside down. But what really gets me isn't the shock of the change, it's what was left out. Because even with all the chaos, even with the Gorosei sweating bullets, even with the power to transform the entire environment and make enemies laugh uncontrollably, the name of the transformation is still Gear 5. That, to me, is a clear sign that Luffy himself hasn't fully understood what he has become. He keeps calling it Gear, as if it were just another level of something he created. But is it? I think back to when he created Gear 2 in chapter 387. He was getting beat up badly by Blueno, and then suddenly, he stomped the ground, started steaming, and his body accelerated, like his blood was boiling from the inside. Then came Gear 3 in chapter 403 with that giant punch, inflating his bones for impact. Up to that point, it all made sense. Everything was based on rubber, on elasticity, and how he could use that in different ways. Gear 4, which showed up in chapter 783, started to push the logic a bit further, mixing armament haki, elasticity, and a more brutal, explosive fighting style. But it was still rubber. It was still Luffy trying to stretch the limits of the fruit he thought he knew. Then came Wano, the rooftop, chapter 1010, and it felt like Oda started preparing us more seriously. Kaido saying Luffy did something new with Conqueror's haki. Zunesha talking about the drums, the sound of the drums. All of that came before the truth was revealed. In chapter 1044, when the Gorosei say the fruit was never registered as the real Nika Nika no Mi because the world government tried to erase that name from history, I started wondering if Luffy is truly in control of what he is now. Because the name Gear 5 wasn't given by anyone but him, it's like he's trying to organize this new power using his old logic. Like he's afraid to face the truth that he's no longer just the same old Luffy, not just rubber, he's something else, or rather he's someone. And that someone already existed, the so-called sun god Nika. But then I start thinking, why Gear 5? Why not a new name? Maybe he's not fully aware of the transformation yet. Maybe the fruit is awakening, yes, but only partially. Because if we stop to think, Zoans have a will of their own. The Gorosei said that. And what if that will is only just beginning to manifest? Maybe Gear 5 is just the first layer of what's yet to come. I think maybe, just maybe the name was kept because Luffy needs time to digest what he is. He needs to name, organize, categorize. And Gear is the way he found to control the change. But the real power, the one connected to the sun, to the drums, to liberation might still be waiting, holding back until the right moment. And if we look closely, Gear 5 is still a transformation based on laughter, lightness, cartoon logic, absurdity. Luffy can change his form, make his eyes pop out, turn the ground into rubber, stretch others. But all of that is still him. Him as a child, him as someone free. But what if the true power of the sun isn't just that? What if there's something more serious behind it? Something that's not just about liberating comedy, but liberating actual people, places, stories. Because Nika was known as the Liberator. And so far, Luffy hasn't done that with Gear 5. He used it to defeat Kaido. Sure, but that was personal. That was battle, not revolution. Chapter 1055 hits me hard. When Sukiyaki reveals the true Wano, the sunken city swallowed by time, left behind, I felt the weight of forgotten history. Wano is an ancient land tied to the poneglyphs, to the Void Century, to Joy Boy himself. And if Luffy's fruit was passed down through generations, escaping the government's grasp, maybe it was preserved precisely for a moment like like this. Full awakening, the return to the original mission. But for that to happen, he has to move beyond gear. He has to go beyond the logic he himself created. I think the way he names the transformation is a shield, a way to stay in control. Because if he fully accepts that he has become the symbol of the sun, he'll have to face everything that comes with that. He'll have to liberate the world. Maybe the real moment when he uses the power of the sun is still coming. Maybe it'll be when the whole world is in collapse, with Im standing before him, the sky darkened, and all nations waiting for something to bring light. Because the drums of liberation, the sound Zunesha heard, isn't an attack, it's a call, a collective awakening. I think Luffy is going to use the true sun-related power not against an enemy, but to awaken something greater. Maybe to make the giant tree bloom, maybe to lift something that's been buried, maybe to wake those who've been asleep since the Void Century, or maybe to show that he's not just a kid with a straw hat. He's the reincarnation of an idea, and ideas, once awakened, don't go back to sleep. Which brings me back to Gear 5, because if it's just an early version, a way to play with absurdity, then maybe we're still waiting for the moment he stops laughing. The moment he looks up at the sky, sees the real sun rising, and understands that now he is the one who must lead the others. Maybe Oda is saving that for when the world is at its darkest, because the sun only matters when the world is in shadow. And now, with Egghead about to explode, the government cornered, and Saturn being questioned, maybe that moment is coming. Luffy will still laugh, of course, but I think he'll also cry. He'll feel the weight of what it means to be Nika. And in that moment, Gear 5 will no longer be called Gear. It'll have a new name. Or maybe it won't need a name at all. It'll just be him, shining, pulsing, making the drums sound echo, not just in ears, but in memories. And then, the world will know that the sun has returned. But until then, Gear 5 remains this bridge. A halfway point. A transitional state between the boy who wanted to be Pirate King and the symbol that will free everything that was erased. Because we can't forget Joy Boy was Nika too. And the original Joy Boy left something unfinished. The promise to Fishman Island, for example, is still unresolved, and only the new Joy Boy can fulfill it. And that, I believe, won't be done with just rubber punches. It will be done with light, with warmth, with vital energy. Now, think about this. What if the sun he's going to use isn't figurative? What if he literally manages to channel the heat of the star itself? And what if the laughter isn't just a reflection of his fighting style, but a reflection of radiation, of combustion, of the inner fire that's starting to take over his body? Because if the fruit is a Zoan, and if Zoans are tied to entities, then maybe Luffy's body is being reshaped, not just to become more elastic, but to withstand a new type of energy. Something that can only be summoned when the world is ready. Something that might be the final gear, but maybe by then it won't even be called a gear, because it'll be the complete form. Full liberation. The true Nika. And what if all of this has been prepared from the very beginning, from the first time he smiled with Shanks's hat on his head, from that moment he reached his arm toward the sky, from the instant he ate the fruit while smiling? Maybe every laugh, every joke, every absurd thing he's done was part of a preparation, a way to train the world to accept laughter even when everything falls apart. Because Nika, in the end, isn't just the sun god. He's the god of joy, and joy, in a world full of scars, is a revolution. So, if Gear 5 is just a bridge, a transition, then what comes after must be, at the very least, a shift in language. Because the world around him no longer reacts the same. In Wano, when he reached that state, reality bent, gravity became a joke, and even Kaido, who always stood as the embodiment of brute force and absolute control, found himself pulled into Luffy's rhythm. That, to me, is way beyond just combat. That's influence. And true influence transforms the environment. That makes me think the next step, the form that's coming, won't just affect bodies or space. It'll affect time itself. Because there's something in that drum beat, in the sound Zunesha hears, that feels older than everything. It seems like that sound isn't just heard, it's remembered, as if everyone who hears it accesses something hidden deep within. And what if Luffy's next state is exactly that? Not a new form, but a manifestation of Nika so powerful that people around him awaken something too, that they laugh because something inside them was activated? If it goes down that path, then this transformation won't be just about him. It'll be collective. And maybe that's why he hasn't used it yet, because the world isn't ready. But when the world reaches its limit, when him finally reveals himself and everything is on the brink of collapse, maybe Luffy won't just change, he'll pull the world with him. I can imagine it happening in a completely desperate setting. The sky darkened, not by clouds, but by some weapon. Maybe the one that destroyed Lulusia in chapter 1060. People trying to flee, the seas raging, the government trying to silence the last piece of truth left. And then, in that moment when all seems lost, the drum begins to beat. But it's not him playing, it's the world. It's the rhythm of liberation beginning to echo again. And the ones who answer aren't just the allies. They're the hidden peoples. The ones who were forgotten. The ones who still remember the name Nika without even knowing why. That's why I believe Luffy's next stage will involve much more than body or technique. It'll involve memory. It'll involve feeling. It'll involve solve something that connects all the people who have ever suffered. And then Gear 5 becomes a distant memory. It becomes the moment when he still needed to play with absurdity just to start getting used to what he carries. But after that, there's no more playing around. Not in a sad sense, but in the sense that there's no more pretending. Because the sun doesn't hide when it starts to shine. It lights everything up, and that light, that heat, might literally be incorporated into Luffy's body. If in Gear 5 he already seems to radiate energy, distort space, and create cartoon-like effects, then maybe the next transformation won't even need a defined physical form. Maybe he'll become pure light, a body in constant combustion, pulsing with the sound of the drum, radiating vitality in a way that even hockey can't explain. We saw in chapter 1046 that lightning struck him, and not only did he survive, he absorbed it. He turned thunder into a toy. And what if that's the first step toward controlling the elements themselves? Not like Enel's Logia, which manipulated lightning, but in the sense of embodying these phenomena as extensions of who he is. Because the sun isn't just heat, it's life. Maybe it'll just be silence, or just the sound of the drum in empty panels as people begin to wake up. Oda has always known how to use silence, and maybe he's saving that silence for the moment the world realizes the sun has returned, not because someone said so, but because everyone felt it. And in that moment, there will be no more gear. There will only be Luffy, or maybe not even that. There will only be the rhythm, because the name, the body, the technique, all of it was a tool. But when everything has fulfilled its role, what remains is what was always there. The boy who wanted to be free. The boy who wanted to laugh. The boy who became the sun. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.